but what is there one or two things that you really want to put a finer point on if someone's listening and thinking about, hey, what can set themselves apart?
But Iowa's home, and we're very, very fortunate and very proud of being from Iowa.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the next episode of the Iowa BizCast brought to you by the Iowa Business Council, where we bring together thought leaders and our members from the Iowa Business Council to talk about ways in which Iowa's largest businesses are enhancing the value of everyday Iowans. And we are so pleased to welcome Jeff Rogers to our virtual studio here today to talk about all of these things. Jeff is the CEO of Musco Lighting based in Oskaloosa, Iowa, a relatively new member to the Iowa Business Council, and we're excited to learn more about him and his company. But for those of you who don't know, Musco is a leader in sports and large area lighting and facility solutions for more than a half a century. Musco offers expertise in making responsible lighting affordable and expanding recreational opportunities in communities everywhere. And by everywhere, I mean all over the globe. Not only are they lighting up your Little League fields, no matter where you're living, probably in the state of Iowa, but if you go to an F1 race, if you went to a World Cup game, if you go to the Olympics here in a few years, those lighting solutions are brought to you by Musco. And so we're extremely excited to dig into all of that, to hear the story about Musco, how this company in Oskaloosa, Iowa is literally lighting up the world and our communities all across the land. So Jeff, welcome to the Iowa BizCast.
Good morning, Joe. I appreciate that lead up. That's pretty big opening. I hope it can fill the shoes here.
I think you can. I'll keep my, lights on puns to a minimum, but no guarantees.
No guarantees. All right.
So let's kind of start at the beginning and take a quick look back at the company's history. As I mentioned, Musco Lighting was founded in Oskaloosa in 1976 and evolved from selling light fixtures to solving problems for athletic facilities by designing complete lighting systems. How would you describe that journey from where you started to where you are now, and how do you see it going for decades to come?
Well, Joe, it's really a great story, and it's a story about coming out of nothing, and it's really about two guys, two founders, Joe Crookham, Myron Gordon. They created a partnership. Actually, their partnership started more than 50 years ago. 1968, the two of them ran into each other when Myron, who was a machinist at Pellicorp, started a business with a guy named Dennis Lee, and in the hand tools. They wanted to build hand tools to sell to machinists. And they went into a lawyer's office, Joe Crookham, and asked about creating a contract to form a business. And Joe said, "Hey, I'd be happy to help out. Would you be interested in perhaps a partner to help you with some of the business activities?" And again, Myron and Dennis were both engineers, and they said, "Sure." And so Joe formed a contract for him, and they started G&L Industries, which sold hand tools for machinists in 1968. Their first year sales was $450. Second year was $900, so they doubled it. Joe brought some business aptitude toward it, and they expanded the business. They went to a company called X-Acto Knife and created some products for X-Acto Knife, and sales boomed to a grand total of about $15,000. So, but again, it was a big step forward. But through those late 60s, early 70s, they looked around as to, what are some other products, what are some other businesses they might want to get involved with. And in 1976, the Iowa State Extension Service brought the opportunity for Joe and Myron to buy Muscatine Lighting and Manufacturing in Muscatine, Iowa. It was a bankrupt company that built all sorts of products for outdoor lighting, and they bought it. And there was a banker in Muscatine, a guy by the name of George Shepley, and George talked to Joe and Myron both about the opportunity to keep the manufacturing business in Muscatine. And George said, if you'll keep it here, I'll work with you on your financing, help take care of some of the debt, and become your banker.
Hmm.
And Joe stayed loyal to Muscatine. Joe and Myron stayed loyal to Muscatine First National Bank, and have stayed Muscatine. And we took off from there and looked at lots of products. And Joe really saw a niche at that time for sports lighting, and they built a product specifically for sports fields. And he and Myron decided, hey, we can do some focused manufacturing, some focused marketing on how to cluster lights together to put on a ball field. And they created a product called a sports cluster, and they thought it was going to become a series of products throughout the lighting industry that would last forever. And it ended up being one niche they got into, one niche they stayed into, and we've never really left sports. Although today we do some large area lighting, we do airports where they have specialty glare and spill control. We do some roadway lighting. There's some stuff in Des Moines we've done at various locations for the DOT, but really started in sports, stayed in sports. 1982 was a big turnaround when we lit the first Notre Dame Michigan game at night with our temporary system. So that continued to magnify our focus in sports, and through various technology advancements, achievements, and really marketing focus. Um, we've become a significant player in around the world, as you mentioned, in lighting athletic fields, everything from a little league field to a Formula One or an NFL stadium. And again, been very fortunate to be. I've been very fortunate to be part of that for just over 43 years.
That's an incredible story, and talk about all sorts of different partnerships, partnering with other companies in the area to local and community banks to Iowa State University. I mean, that's really where those partnerships come in. That really makes a great difference. Um, Musco, as you mentioned, has projects of great scale all throughout the world. You mentioned some of them, whether it's the Olympic Games, NFL stadiums, TV production, but yet you continue to keep your headquarters and most of the engineering and manufacturing right here in Iowa, which is fantastic.
Mhm.
So, what advantages does being headquartered in Iowa provide as Musco continues to grow globally?
Well, again, we have the corporate office is based where I'm at, Oskaloosa, Iowa. Um, and then our primary manufacturing is in Muscatine. We also have manufacturing and engineering services in Des Moines. And then we have some manufacturing in Shanghai, China, Seoul or Gumi, Korea. And then we've just started a manufacturing facility. Timing not great, but started a manufacturing facility in Dammam, Saudi Arabia. And we're very fortunate and proud in all those locations, but Iowa's home, and we're very fortunate and very proud of being from Iowa. On a practical basis, because we ship every project as a project by itself. There's no real common. There's some common denominators in the lighting equipment, but we build it and we create it for each site where we're shipping product. And because we're located in the central of the U.S., we're able to ship to all parts of the U.S. reasonably effectively and economically. So that's been a huge advantage. But mostly the core of what the advantage is the people. And we're very fortunate with great work ethic, um, great adaptability, and just a lot of core people that stay a long time. And again, not lack of turnover is one of our great assets. And again, we've been able to build things and ask people to travel all over the world, and it's because the people care, and they just say yes to a lot of things.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. And as we know, manufacturing is Iowa's number one industry, and Musco obviously a key component of that. As Iowa's one of Iowa's largest employers, what workforce trends are you watching most closely, and what sorts of skill sets are of the most importance to your company as you look to the future? You mentioned how the people are great here in the state, but as you think about workforce trends into the future, what do you have your eye on as things of value?
Well, clearly adaptability
Yeah,
is going to be a big deal. Again, we travel a lot out of Iowa, so we have to have people that are willing to go to project sites, people that are willing to, either on the front end to figure out how to plan it and sell it, or on the installation end, or on the operational end. We provide a lot of long-term warranties and service agreements. And so we need people that will relocate. We need people that will travel to other locations. But again, it's diversity is probably a big deal. We want people that are comfortable with other cultures. We would like to have again, diverse backgrounds, because we do everything from heavy engineering work to electronic assembly to welding, uh, project construction, truck drivers. So there's a wide range of types of people we need, marketing people. So again, diversity, interested in change, curiosity. Again, those are probably all common themes that everybody has, but it's, when you're dealing with projects all over the world, you've got to be flexible in attitude and that sort of thing. So that's a big deal for us. And again, our owners and our founders, and then our current leadership team, we care a lot about the word team. That's been something that we've grown up with, is team is number one. A lot of people talk about the customer being number one, and our founders have said from the very beginning, the team is really number one. And if we take care of each other, the customer will do just fine.
yeah.
And that's a big deal. So we look for people that want to be on teams and want to make team number one.
Yeah, and those attributes really cut across every occupation, every job, right? And
Yep.
that's really important.
Yeah, an attitude. I mean, I really think, and it's something we sell. We bring probably 4 or 5 customers a year back here to Oskaloosa and Muscatine to see how the equipment goes together, for some training, things like that. And we sell people a lot on our town square right here at Oskaloosa. That
Yep.
it's Midwest of America, and
Yep.
and if we make a guarantee, we make a promise, we stand behind it. And I think that it seems a bit corny sometimes, but I think people really, really do buy for that. And in today's world, you got to figure out what are you going to buy and why are you going to buy it. And a lot of stuff's internet based, and we do our fair share on the internet as well. But I think personal touches and relationships are something that we care a lot about, and we want to continue to make sure we maintain.
Yeah, it's a differentiating factor for you and your team, right? When you can add
Yeah.
those personal touches in that global marketplace that you're literally engaging in. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And you have to spend some money to do that. It's not something that just happens for free.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So you touched on this a little bit on the attributes of workforce trends, but as you think about the future workforce of Musco and realizing the significant changes that are already occurring probably in the way that you do business, whether it's because of AI or other technology or innovative manufacturing practices. What is the profile of the type of employee that you think will be the most successful in this changing environment? You talked about some of that already, but what is there one or two things that you'd really want to put a finer point on if someone's listening and thinking about, hey, what can set themselves apart in this new world?
Again, I think they've got to be comfortable with technology.
Yeah,
They've got to be adaptable to change, because it's the days of being able to put a system or a process in place and say, hey, that's going to last for 25 years are gone.
right.
You've got to be flexible. You've got to be adaptable. You've got to thrive in the area of technology communication. I think learning how to program. That we look at a lot of, we have a great relationship with our local high school, and
Yeah,
trying to get engaged with with even underclassmen. We have an area of the programming where we program lights for to flash on and off for shows at halftime of, and it goes clear up to the NFL or Division I football. But they also do it for high school, and so those are smaller fields, more easily programmed, pretty basic stuff. But we actually work with an intern program through the local high school to get kids involved early with developing that sort of technology, and I think that's important that they continue to want to learn and be challenged by some of those things in the future.
That's a really good point. Lifelong learning is an absolute must, and
Yeah.
being comfortable with the constantly changing environment if we know nothing else. Yeah,
And again, we believe in youth. The core of our business is youth sports, and
yeah,
what we can do to continue to advance opportunity for youth, not just those that are in um, progressive communities, but those that are in the underserved areas. What do
yeah.
we do to help bring more opportunity to those folks?
Yeah, that's fantastic. When you mentioned investment, right, and investing in community, and Musco has certainly been a leader where it matters most with philanthropy tied to its mission of expanding access to sports, recreation, community spaces, focusing on creating safe, high quality places to play while also supporting the communities where employees live and work. What does this say about the culture you and your team have developed to have such a community focused outlook in the way you're doing business, making decisions, engaging with the communities around you?
Well, again, I'd really have to use this as another opportunity to say thank you to our founders and their families, the Crookham family and the Gordon family, have both cared a lot about not just corporate profitability, but how do we make sure we reinvest in the team and then our communities. And to them, to us, the community is the local place you live, but it's also the world we all live in. And, what do we do to try to make a difference for the underserved, as well as just youth generally? And a couple good examples of that are we run a program with the U.S. Soccer Foundation where we provide mini pitches. The Caitlin Clark Foundation is one we've done some of that with too, locally in the Des Moines area as well as Indianapolis. But this since 2018, I think we started it. It's a self-contained small five-a-side soccer pitch that we provide in underserved communities that the U.S. Soccer Foundation brings to us. This year, we'll do our 1,000th venue in Florida, somewhere in October, November category. And again, true testament to our ownership, our leadership, our team to invest the resource into giving back,
Yeah,
and putting some things, not just money, because sometimes money evaporates. We like to put something in place in those communities that kids can take advantage of. That's a program that we believe in. The last couple of years, Musco has had a program called the Youth Exchange, where we're taking kids from our area and putting them into the last couple of years we've gone to either Shanghai, China, or this year we just sent a group of kids to France to play local teams. They're 11, 12-year-old kids. And then conversely, we've brought sets of kids from those communities back to Oskaloosa to play, and not for the competitive nature of sport, but for them to get to know the local communities
yeah,
and to exchange with other kids. Part of what we do is actually intermingle the teams and let them play together. And it just to give kids from all over the world a little piece of Iowa, and to also take kids from Iowa and give them some exposure to other parts of the world and maybe a little more appreciation for other cultures. So we think that's a big program. And again, things like that, and those are just a couple examples, but many other things Musco is proud of participating in, where we're trying to make the world just a little better place.
I love that. I mean, you think about the leadership skills that those kids develop and the critical thinking skills, just trying to figure out how to work with people that they don't necessarily know, right? I mean, that
Yep.
what a great foundational
Yep.
opportunity you're providing. That's
Yeah.
outstanding.
It's a program we really again we're about that's our third year into it. We hope that it's one that will continue to build over time. We think it will.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Jeff, you've survived our hard-hitting questions here. We want to get into maybe sort of our lightning round or our last set of questions that are a bit more personal, but I think people are interested on how I was leading CEOs structure their day, channel their intake of industry news and other news, and how you generally stay on top of everything while maybe even engaging in some personal interest activity. And you're a unique person because as you've said, and as we were talking before we started recording, you're on a plane a lot, going to all different places around the world. So to the extent that you have an ideal morning routine, what does that look like? When do you get to the office? How do you structure your day or your morning, I guess? How do you structure your morning in a way that leads to a successful day for Jeff Rogers?
Well, I wish I could tremendously structured person, but I'm not. Um, I do. I'm a morning person, so I get started usually pretty early. I'm in the office, shortly after 7. I tend to probably, if there's any kind of routine to it, is we have an in-house system where I literally look at orders that have come in the day before. Again, we can it's a system that gives you a lot of background on who the customer was, why they bought us, stuff like that. And I'll read through a lot of those because I again, as a niche manufacturer, to me it's important that Musco continue to stay connected to our customers. And so I spend much of my morning looking through why is somebody buying us? What are they paying for it? Why are they paying that for it? That's something that I spend a lot of time trying to stay close to. Gathering information from outside sources. We were joking a little bit earlier. I wish I had an outside source I trusted anymore. To
Yeah.
me, you got to read 4 or 5 of them and then try to see if you can find a balance in between all that. That's the reality. So I tend to lean on my people more than I believe what I read on some of the various sources. So anyway, no, it's if there's any routine, I have a pet Texas Longhorn steer at home, and I
Oh
feed
my
him
God.
every morning. That's my morning start every day when I'm home, when I'm not traveling.
That is an Iowa BizCast first.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
absolutely sure.
I got him from General Tommy Franks. He
Oh my
I
gosh.
was down at his ranch one day, and I've had him for 15 years, and we were sitting around maybe having a bourbon at night one night, and I joked about he had some herd of Longhorns. I said, "Man, that'd be kind of cool to have one of those." And I'll be darned if about a week later they didn't show up at my house with a trailer, and all of a sudden I had a Longhorn steer,
So
and I've
what's
had
his
him for
name?
15 years.
What's his name?
Hobart,
Okay.
Hobart the steer. It's from Hobart, Oklahoma.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Wow, that is the best thing I've heard in a long time. That's great. That's great. So you're talking about your news intake and relying on people, but you know, there's a your industry is unique. So how do you stay on top of news or topics specific to your industry or to your community? And how do you fit that into your schedule as you're, literally going overseas all the time, you're going to different parts of the country, really checking in on your local projects as well. How does that fit into your day?
Um, and again, I spend a lot of my time talking to our folks. And again,
Yeah.
we've got over 100 salespeople, so spend a lot of time trying to stay connected to them. Of course, there's publications like the Wall Street Journal, and we've got industry and NRPA, National Park and Recreation, is a group that I stay pretty connected to. Little League Baseball is a group that I stay pretty connected to because they're across the nation. So that again, there's bits and pieces of industry things. Major League Baseball, we spent some time with them. U.S. Soccer. So there's lots of touch points. There's probably no magic elixir to any of that. I think we're all searching for how do you there's so much information coming out of us. Finding the filter is probably more the challenge than trying to find the information.
That's a great point. Yeah, to filter in what's right, what's relevant, what's not, and then acting on that if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, to the extent that you're a reader, is there any book that you've read recently or that you're currently reading that you would want to recommend to
Well,
folks?
I got one right here. I'll show you.
All
This is
right.
one, and I'll have to get you a copy of this. This is one. Nice people along the way, but our co-founder Joe just recently released it, July 9th, which was our 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
And Joe put out a book, and it's really really good. It's about the many of the things we were just talking about, the history of Musco and how it went from being a startup, virtually unheard of, to taking out some in the sports industry. When they started, when I started, General Electric was probably number one in the
Right.
in the world on sports lighting, and they're no longer around.
Yep.
And there's really not very many of them that were involved with sports lighting in those early days that have been able to fight the transition from HID to electronics of LED. And we're pretty proud of the fact that we did survive that and worked our way through it. But that's one I just finished. There's if for when I travel, there's an author I like, CJ Box, that's from out in Wyoming where I like to fly fish. That's kind of fun, easy read. So that's my go-to with I just need to kill some time.
That's great. That's great. What about anything on Netflix or Amazon Prime that you're watching that you download on these plane travels?
I'm not much of a binge watcher. I again, I'm a sports guy, so
Yep.
I'm usually watching something that's sports related or reading a book.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. So a little bit more serious question here. What is the most important thing a leader can do in today's world, in your opinion?
Uh, I think again, this is probably old school too, but I think listening is a big part of it. I think building the next generation behind you is always very important. Communicating, and those are probably pretty common and been around a long time, but those are probably the most important in my opinion.
Most important and important to remind people that those are the right things, right?
Yep,
That's
yep,
really good advice.
yep, yep.
So as you think about our future here in Iowa, and again leaning into the aspect that we're trying to reinforce the value of business in this state, what makes you optimistic about the future of Iowa from where you sit?
Again, it's a bit of a repeat, but I think it's people.
Yep.
I think we have a great group of people here. We have a good environment, and there's some tough press floating around right now that I think we have to continue to work on curbing a little bit, but it's a great environment. I've always wished there was a better way to market our lack of traffic.
Yeah.
I travel to a lot of these cities, and to go 8 miles takes you an hour. And we'll run from here to Muscatine in an hour and 15 minutes. And I think we have a great environment. We have a great opportunity, keeping young people here. And we get a lot of move backs. We get a lot of
Yeah.
people that move back, and that's important. I wish we could continue to figure out how do you keep them here from day one.
Yep. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I think that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jeff, that's all we had for today. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Iowa BizCast. Thank you so much for your service as a board member of the Iowa Business Council. We really appreciate your leadership, and we look forward to seeing you soon at our next quarterly board meeting. Is there any final or parting words you'd like to offer today?
No, I'd like to thank you and your team and the rest of the folks on the business council. I think this is I think we've all got a lot to learn yet, and there's challenges ahead, no doubt. And I think it's good to continue to try to address those and make Iowa a number one place to work.
I love that. It's a great sign off. Well, Jeff, thank you so much. We appreciate your time and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.